want to, because again, I hear these things before, and I guess kind of the government says for us, a child 2 years and up to eat 10% added sugar, and the amount of lobbying that went into that and malfeasance that I saw is astounding. The key thing to understand with that USDA guideline, the key thing to understand with most medical decisions is that the USDA, the FDA, when they approve drugs, or the NIH when they give guidelines like on for opioids and now for Ozempic, it's not government bureaucrats that are at the government making that determination. They're outside panels. So the way food companies,
better or worse?
I think it's worse because there's no conflicts of interest with who can go on those panels. So 95% of the experts on the USDA Nutrition Guidelines Committee receive personal payments from food and or pharma companies.
Wow.
Dr. Fatima Stanford, who we talked about, who's the Ozempic shill from Harvard, you can't even make this up, was just appointed to the 2025 committee to make the nutrition guidelines.
Wow.
The same person who says that obesity isn't tied to food or exercise. So that's the level of corruption. And then of course it's just a revolving door with all these agencies. You know, the classic case where the chair of the FDA, Gottlieb, just, you know, went straight to be the board of Pfizer. So it's just like a total revolving door where there's no restrictions on not only research grants, which is the lifeblood of these academics industry, but personal consulting payments from processed food companies. So if there's like we say, oh, it's complicated. Oh, patients don't want to do this. You have the United States government saying 10% added sugar.
Didn't they? Somebody, the Food Compass says like Lucky Charms are better, 3 times better than eggs or something like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we think that this is a thing of the past. You know, we know about the food pyramid in the 90s where some corrupt research from the Sugar Research Council said we should be eating more sugar, more carbs, less healthy fats.
Insane.
This is still happening. So not only do you have the guidelines bought off, you have the preeminent nutrition study today is the Food Compass. So this is very classic. It's millions of dollars directly from the NIH, Tufts Nutrition School, which is one of the preeminent nutrition schools, and also millions of dollars from processed food companies. They go into the same study. This study comes out on the press release. It says the purpose of the study is to impact childhood nutrition marketing guidelines. It's the point of the study. And it says that over 3 dozen name brand cereals, including Lucky Charms, Honey Nut Cheerios on down, 3 dozen are recommended. Multiples more than eggs, which are discouraged, and beef, which is discouraged. Now, this is funny if it wasn't tragic that the food companies think about this, right? The maker of that study, the dean of Tufts Nutrition School, he actually called me very angry. It was actually, I'm like, geez, you don't have a lot to do. My partner and I, my new company, we're working to expose this stuff and change it. But it's just so ridiculous, and people hadn't talked about the study, so what we put out went pretty viral. Joe Rogan tweeted about it, or Instagrammed it, and Fox News started covering it. And he called me, he couldn't even make this up, he called me from Davos, like fuming. He's like, emails me, you need to pick up my call, calls me. And he said that the food funding is the lifeblood of nutrition schools. And that just is what it is. And I asked him, because I did some research, I said, well, you've received personal payments, not just research payment, personal payments from almost every processed food company you can imagine, and another direct-to-consumer issuer of Ozempic. He is receiving payments, consulting payments from an Ozempic prescriber, one of these companies that's mass advertising in TikTok ads, Ozempic to millennials. That's who's paying him. That's who's paying for his, vacation house in Massachusetts. And I asked him just point blank, I think what everyone would want to ask him, does that impact your decision making? He's like, of course not. We have a disclaimer in the study.
The truth